Hello there, and welcome to my little arty corner on YouTube. My name's Angela. I can be found over the internet either as Angela Porter or Artwyrd. Word spelt with a Y, not an O. Well, it's Saturday, it's the 5th of March, it's lovely and sunny out, and I have spent the last couple of hours potching around in my sketchbook. Potching, a Welsh word for, or often used in Wales for, messing about, just pottering around, doing a bit of this and that and the other, just potching. Not doing anything that, well, it was a purpose because I was trying some things out, so I may share those with you later. But thank you everybody for your lovely comments. Thank you for liking. Thank you for subscribing. If you haven't subscribed, please consider to do so. And please, if you enjoy the video, like it. And if you share this with other people, I greatly appreciate you very much, because that helps to spread what I'm doing to others who may find it useful as well. So if you haven't shared any of my videos with others you know, then perhaps it might be a chance to do that, possibly. It would be lovely, because I seem to be stuck on just over 500 subscribers, and it'd be nice to, push it forward a little bit. But not that I'm worried too much about, having millions of people following me or whatever, but it'd be nice to see more people coming along. So, with no further ado, this page in my sketchbook is what I did in yesterday's video, Fragment Friday, and this is fragment D5 from the Zentangle primer. It's primer in America, it's primer over here. And this, it's the difference in pronunciation of words. This is the fragment I chose, and then I did some variations on the theme here. So Saturday is sort of like a fun day, or it's a day where I want to create something that I could give away or make use of, rather than have things just sat in sketchbooks and so on. So I'm going to make a monotangle. In fact, I might do 2 monotangles today, because I have 2 pieces here of I've got, these are 4 inches by 4 inches. They are Ohuhu marker paper, which is very smooth, very white, and it's rather sturdy. But one thing I haven't done with this, I haven't tried distressing colours on them, because I quite fancy doing a bit of distressing colouring. So give me a moment, I'll be back with all my necessary supplies, which I haven't got out, and let's have a look and see if that works on this. So see you in a moment. Okie dokes, I'm back, and I've dug out my yellowy and yellowy green coloured distressings, yellowy and orangey. Because it's so lovely and sunny today, I just thought it would be rather nice to have a ripping session. Oh, that's simply so I've got a piece of paper here to put on the top of this, so I don't need fingerprints. And it's so lovely and sunny, I feel the need for some sunshine here. So I think I'll start with some mustard seed, which is quite a bright yellow, but using makeup brushes means that we apply a lot less of the colour, and so it's a lot less in your face. Though having said that, putting a lot less of this colour on makes it look fluorescent on this very white paper. But I didn't know how this would react or work, but it's doing beautifully. In fact, it blends really nicely on here, and easily. It's not very smooth, but I'm not bothered about smoothness, because we're going to practically cover all of this up with a monotangle. And I think I'd like some orange. Now, I particularly have a fondness for spiced lemonade, but I'm going to make use here of, what one was it? Dried marigold, which is a more muted orange. Just need to pick a bit more of that up. So the brushes need to sort of like have a bit of colour on them, a bit of ink to get them. Oh, there we are, there is some orange coming off there. So I'm just putting some orange around the outside edge. I'm adding background colour because I don't particularly want to colour my Monotangle in. I could, and I may do, but Distress Inks give me the option of using, well, this is marker paper. I'm not quite sure how things like watercolours will work on here, but very soft, gentle alcohol ink colours would be quite lovely. So that there, but I do want to put a darker colour around the edge. So I've just reached for the reds. And I think out of here, this abandoned coral that I've got here is quite it's a pinky red and not, heading towards an orangey colour. I think that would be lovely just around the edge perhaps. Just to darken it up, just that little bit around the edge. I could be wrong, mind you, because I'll miss my browns. There. But let's have a look and see if this will. That's better. With a bit more ink on the brush, but it's okay because I can go back and redo this. I'm using the brush rather than a piece of cut and dry foam, which would be my preference for edging, because I want a bit more of perhaps a bit more colour fading inwards, but I'm going to use that cut and dry foam now just to add that little bit more colour right to the very edge. You need little movements to do this if you're going to be adding colour in this kind of way. I'm using Distress Inks, but any kind of ink pads that will allow you to blend will work well, I'm sure, no matter what. So there, I've got a lovely, quite sunshiny colour there. So in contrast, let me just pop these to one side because I can reach my other colours quite easily. Let's do some blues and greens on the other one. So we have it sort of like sun, and we'll have sky and water, I suppose, as well. I suppose. Oh, gosh. Where did I pop those? Got to put the piece of cut and dry foam back in the right colour. There we go. Tidy up, Angela. Okay, I want a lovely, lovely blue here. I tend to go for broken china. Speckled egg is a bit grey. Yeah, I think I'll use broken china, which is a lovely warm blue. And it just makes me quite happy. There we are. We've got enough colour on this now. It also gives a chance for the other square to dry a little, the ink to settle and dry, because I don't want to be drawing on it when it's wet. And I'm hoping that the pens will work out on the paper. Of course, if they don't work out, I just will re-record the video, so you won't even know. But it's always good fun to try new things out and develop things. That's what I was doing with my sketchbook. I was working out ways of adding shadow and colour. Sometimes it just takes that little bit of time for things to settle in my mind, or for my mind to mull over things without me paying attention to it, to suddenly have these, aha, I wonder what if. And it was one of those moments today. It was oh, I wonder what if I do this. So there's some of that. Tumbled glass is lovely. But again, I want to put some darker colour around that. And I think I'm going to head towards the greens for that. So if I get my greens out, I'm having a look at what colour would be lovely here. I've got peacock feathers, which is a bluey green, which would be quite nice. Sort of like it's a lovely tealy colour, almost. And turquoisey blue, so. So that will just darken this in, and then I'll use a green then, I think, for that outer darker edge. Though this is pretty dark as it is, but I think some green there would be quite nice. I do think it's lovely to get this kind of frame around it there with colour. Okay, I still wanted to use a green now then. I think I'm going to go with Evergreen Bough because it is a nice kind of It's a bluey green. I just need to clean this off, and the best way to do that is to pick some of the ink up. But it's a bit more on the greeny side. It'll just give that nice edge. Oh, have I got the wrong one? I think it's pine needles I wanted. But it's actually what I wanted, so trust your instincts. Just this hint of a greener colour around the edge, I think, would be quite nice. There we go. And that'll work just fine, I think. So I've got 2 of them here. There we go. And if I remove my piece of scrap paper, oh, what's I got in there? I've got no idea. I've got markings on my mat here. I don't know what that is. It's some drawing or other. I haven't noticed that before. But that's okay. We can live with that. Okay, I'm going to tidy my stuff away again, and I'll be back in a moment. I'll give that a bit of a wipe. Sheesh. And here I am, back again. This time I've got what I'm going to be using for this part of the video, and I am going to start off something once I've got a couple of the parts of the repeating pattern done. I'll go off and finish them off and come back when I've got parts finished. So my first job with these is I want to pop a border around them, and with this I'm making it about 1/4 inch. I am using pencil to draw this in because hopefully I'll be able to erase it easily. I think this pencil has got a softer lead in. I'm not entirely sure because I can't remember which one of them I put the 2B lead in, and I didn't do the other one, so this one does feel like it's an HB. Yep, I got 2 of them. These Otos are really quite affordable as well. They weren't expensive, and with the knock mechanism that automatically advances the lead when it wears down, they're really affordable, and they're aluminium bodied, which is even more remarkable because they're usually terribly expensive. So I was well impressed, and they're pretty colours, so it doesn't take much to make me happy. Okay, so these are about 1/4 inch, the border, about 1 centimetre for those working in metric, and these are 10 centimetres by 10 centimetres. And if you work in not metric, then actually the border is 3/8, yeah, 3/8 of an inch all the way round. And this ruler makes it really easy. You can see the grid lines on there, and there's actually 3. There's one here, and it's that one there, one underneath the numbers. Makes it super easy. And I dislike supers, but that's how it is. Okay, so my first job is, as I'm going to be working with a grid, I'm going to draw a grid in. So I am going to do this by eye because I've used the pencil lines as that guide for the outside. I could have drawn them by eye, but I like to have something that is kind of what it's supposed to be. And I am using an 035. I've got my Copic multi-liner out, multi-liners out, and my lines aren't perfect, and that's fine. So I think I'm going to do this one anyway, 3 by 3. So I'm going to kind of guess where that would be. So I think that would be about 1/3 of the way along. That's about 1/3 of the way along. Made this one slightly bigger, but that's fine. It is what it is. And we'll go like this and have a vaguely organised one there. And then what I think I'll do with this one is I am still going to put that square border in, but I think I'm going to do a kind of crazy version. And I'm going to start by splitting this, and I'm going to do this one in 4s, I think. So I am roughly splitting this up into, oh, it looks like this one is going to be 4x3. And that suits me fine too. So not exactly identical. So let me work with the regular square, the regular squares to begin with. So if I go back to my sketchbook, I've got plenty of choice here, just in the square ones. That one I think would be just way too busy. I'm not in the mood for doing those. This one here would be quite nice actually. I quite like that one because it's got space on the outside, but then I also quite like having this where we've got these auras inside. So I think I might choose that one. That's the one I'm going to go with. So the first job, it's bales, I think is the Zentangle pattern. So it is about putting these shapes. Now I'm doing them smaller than I wanted to, because I wanted enough space in there to put the aura inside. And with that aura inside, once I've put the outer ones on and completed all of those, it's a lot easier to put the extra aura inside. You've already got this outer one to guide you, and you can match it up quite easily across the lines. I think you'll know what I mean when I talk about things like this. Saturday, it's a sunny day. Somebody is drilling madly at the back. So it ain't going to be a quiet day. It's the first sunny day, proper sunny day we've had for over a week. And I am hoping to get out for a little while. I say that often, don't I? But if you've been watching me for a while, you know I'm struggling with going out, social anxiety, or, I'll call it that. So I just get very anxious when I'm out where there might be people. But I'll see how I feel later on. I need to check my nice big camera, because I think if I say, right, I'm going out to take some photographs, because I know from past experience there's no point in me taking my camera. Okay, so we've got all of those. Now then, the next job is I need to aura this shape inside, like so, and then I'm going to pop beads in the middle like that. So I'm going to do that for all of these. You can see it doesn't take me very long, but then I do draw very quickly. So I'll see how I feel later on. I suspect no matter what I do or where I go, with it being such a lovely day, the world and his wife will be out and about, which means that I could end up going to what has been my favourite place to go and walk, which has been my local cemetery to me. It's a big one. It's a mile walk, more or less, from side to side, longer if I zigzag around, which I like to do, and look at things as I walk. It's fantastic wildlife there if you stop and observe them. But there's also a footpath, cycle path along the side of it. And if there are people there and they suddenly create some noise or there's shouts, it instantly puts me into flight mode, and I fly back to my car. Well, I walk briskly and with purpose, and it's not until I'm on my way home that I actually realise what has happened. It's an instant kind of thing, and it can happen anywhere. So Perhaps today may not be the best idea for a trip out for me. Okay. So I've done all of these. Oh, that was a bit of a sloppy line there. And the one thing I need to do is to pop these auras in the middle of them. And I'm going to make quite a narrow outer border and leave plenty of space in the middle. There's a reason for that. But part of me as I'm doing this is going, darn it, dang nabbit, which is not my usual phrase. I'm being polite. Because if I hadn't put these black lines in the middle, I could have erased them if I'd done it in pencil. But, you know, it's fine. So I'm going to do all of these. And then we're going to go and do them in the opposite direction. I find that this kind of repetitiveness of completing one part and then going and doing the next, as it were, helps me not to miss things out or to get confused. And with a regular pattern, there's something rhythmic and meditative about it, which is rather lovely on a Saturday morning. Never been one particularly for shopping or things like that. I think I used to do it in the past out of you know, because social conventions. So there we are. So there's that one done. I'll come back for that middle bit, because what I'm going to do, because I'll blather on about useless, well, I don't know, could be interesting stuff, maybe not be. I'm going to do the same pattern in this wibbly wobbly network. What I'll do is I'm going to do one in this one, and with this I am going to take my time with how I draw the various elements like this, because the shapes are going to be uneven, so I'll need to concentrate a little bit more. But I'm going to carry on, and I'm going to do things in the same way as I would have done with the first one, where I'm putting all of these shapes along the lines. And what I could have done with those, I've made these all the same size, but I could have made them bigger as the shape is bigger. But no matter. At the end of the day, it is what it is, and we work with it. And perhaps another time you can draw that, make a note somewhere that you make the rice shapes bigger if the space is bigger, now, you know, taller, as it were, so they take up more space, and smaller where the space is smaller. So I'll just start doing along these. Oh, yeah, somebody's going, are you going to do that one? Yes, of course I am. I missed it, but I caught it. I would have caught it. So I'm going to carry on doing this, and I'll be back in a few shakes of a lamb's tail. Okay, see you in a moment. So there we are, back again, and both of them are now done with the basic shapes. Now I've got options here as to what I do with these different sections, and I think I know what I want to do, certainly with one. My mind's ticking here, but which one of these do you like the best? I can't make my mind up. I think they're both quite charming in their own way. There's something funny and quirky and Perhaps it's the background colour that makes me smile a little bit more when I see this. This one's a bit different. But I'm going to go back to this one, because what I'm going to do with these central areas is this. And I've got my O2 pen here. What I'm going to do, I hope you can see, and perhaps if I just zoom in a little bit, I'm starting on the bottom of the curve, and I'm adding these little arches up to that central line, right up to the end, and I will colour those spaces in black afterwards. Turn it round, start roughly central, and then fill them in the same kind of way. Well, I've managed to make those quite nicely, exactly the same number, and I'm just going to fill these gaps in with black. This is the one that's going to take the time, and I really do dislike colouring with pen, fine liner pen. But now I've done that, the other thing I want to do is I'm going to pop another one, smaller arch inside these, and suddenly I always think this makes them feel like they're sort of bending upwards. Missed my line a little bit there, but it's fine. I'll do those again. So I'm going to start in the middle because I find it easier to pop one in the middle, work out to the end, go the other way. If you're not comfortable doing it the other way, we'll just start at one end. It's just how I do things. It'll work out perfectly fine no matter which way you put these in. And I didn't turn mine around there, did I? I do need to tidy that up a little bit. So I am going to pop these in first. I've made a mess there. I need to push down on my paper because it's lifting up a little bit here. Oops. I think I might need more tea. These look almost like mouths with teeth in. Now I've done it for you, haven't I? They could be some kinds of leaf or seed pod. So around the edge, it's making sure that these point towards the straight line. So the top of the arch runs along that straight line that divides these spaces. Yeah. Then we can do the same here. There's not enough space to put one of these inside them, just leave them. And I'll do the same on this one. So let me have a look, because I can... Actually, it's fine whichever way we go. It works out. I think it's just that I like things to have one right in the centre. I think it's just one of my ticks, my things. But we can pop these in as well. And I'll do the bottom, this one here with you. And you can see what I've done automatically, can't you? I've done these the wrong way. It's okay because I will finish these here on this side. And I suspect by the time I pop these ones in and pop the other bits in, that mistake will vanish. So you really do have to pay attention to what you're doing with these. There, so you can see what it's vaguely going to look like. I'll come back. I'm going to finish all of these. think I might do something different on the other one. Actually, I haven't actually done the aura inside on the other one, so that's an option for something else perhaps. But I'll come back after I've done these, so I'll see you in a moment. Yep, back for the last couple because I've got a couple of tips to share. I found it really useful to actually complete each one of these as I go along, because the thought of going back and filling all of this in with black and then adding those little bits, I find a bit overwhelming. But the other tip that I have is, instead of trying to start close to the corner, give yourself some space so that the first one of these arches has some space before the corner. As you try and fit a little one in there, it's just not going to happen. I lost count of how many I filled in black, and so I went, oh, I don't have to do right the way to the corner. And you get, it's exactly the same pattern kind of, but you've got that little bit of breathing space in the corner, and without that stress of, how am I going to fit that in? Or, oh, I'm going to have to colour that in black. You control how much black you want in the corners. That's what I'm trying to say. So there we are, we've got there. So what do you think so far? I quite like that. Now then, I want to do something with these orbs, these circles here. And I can tell you exactly what I'm going to do, because I made my mind up as I was drawing this. I'm going to draw an S shape inside it, and then I'm going to aura inside each of these to create what I know as, I think it's ruffle or cruffle. And I'm going to do these in exactly the same way all the way along the rows. I'm not going to rotate these or anything. I'm going to keep this one fairly simple because I'll get confused. The other thing, if you exaggerate the shape of the S, you get a much more dimensional feeling to it. So don't be afraid to draw a really good S shape, not just a slightly curved one. You'll find a way of fitting those little bits in. So I will come back and, oh look, these ones are on their side. Oh, no bother or worry. We approach them in exactly the same kind of way. It's just when they're wider, you've got more space to put that and a really decent double curvy S shape. They already look very, I can see that they're very dimensional there. Now the other thing that I do want to do is those corners. Now I could colour them in black. I've got a lot of black already. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to put some radiating lines in from the corner of that bounding shape towards the cruffle, just to give some darkness behind it. I said I was going to do that. I don't like it. It's too confusing, so it's going to be black, which is a pain, unless I get a brush pen out. Or an alcohol marker actually might do it. I really dislike colouring with fine line pens. I really do. There's better tools than this. Right, I'm going to find an alcohol marker. And a brush tipped one at that, and let's do that. So I'll be back in a moment. Brush tipped alcohol marker, plain black. And I can do that. This is no hoo-hoo one. I went and bought them to try them because the Artezas, You can get some of them in brush tips, but not all of them. And I have got Copic showers somewhere. Bit of an alcohol, I'm a bit of a media hoarder in some ways, and I really do need to sort out. Part of that is deciding this morning how I'm going to approach things in terms of colour and shadow and so on going forward. It's trying to think how can I get various things to work for me, and what do I do then with all of these media I have. So this works quite nicely, I think. Oh, she says, filling in a little bit too much of the space there, but it's okay. I can always tidy that up on my fine liner. What's the problem? I'm talking instead of concentrating on what I'm doing. That's fine. I need quite a light hand with these, like any brush tipped marker, but as long as you have a lightish hand where you need to have a very fine line, once you've got thickened the line, you can go a bit more heavy-handed. Should have gone with my instincts on black here. If I think there's too much black, I can always come back and use something like a gel pen or a souffle pen, perhaps, to put some pattern in there, little dots or something, but we'll see how I feel at the end of it. I'm going to stay with you until I finish this, because then we decide what to do next. It's always the fun thing. Have I done all the pen work I want to do with this, or is there more I want to do? I'm not sure if this is the distress ink affecting how the paper works, because this seems to be bleeding out just a little bit more than I expected. Because on this paper, the alcohol markers don't really bleed. Yeah, they don't really bleed or feather. But I seem to be having, I don't know, perhaps it's just me. Because again, it's a good thing I'm using alcohol markers with the distress ink just to check. Because I do like a coloured background to work on from time to time. In the end, it saves a lot on adding colour, because as you know, my skills at adding colour aren't always the best. My colour choices aren't always the best. So yeah, I think I've more or less done with that, but what I think I want to do in these cruffles is these little sections could do with something in them. So I'm going to put a dot towards the end and a line back like this. It just adds a little something there that just makes it feel like this is deliberate. Yeah. Hope so. Okay. The lines will meet because they come together very closely at the end, so don't worry too much about where the line goes, as long as it does there. So that gives it a very distinctive feel there. Okie dokes. So the next job is adding some shadow. And I'm going to do that with some alcohol markers. I am not going to mess around, she says, with wet media or anything on this paper, because I don't think the paper will take it. But I'll be back in a moment because I'm going to get some alcohol markers. So I'll stop this here and I'll be back. Okie doke, so I'm back with some alcohol markers. This time it is the Artwyrd Everblend markers. And I've got two grey greens, GG08 and GG06. The 08 is the lightest colour. And so I'm going to use that first. Now you could do this with pencil, watercolour, graphite, whatever you want to use, but I'm choosing to do this. And I am going to put shadows at the base of these arches. Now this colour may not be dark enough against the background, so I don't think it is. I think I may need to go to the other one. This is the bullet tip of the, yeah, that's better. And this will dry lighter. So I'm going to add the shadows underneath these. And I'm doing this in a logical manner because I'm doing all the ones that are pointing down this way. Then I'm going to turn it. I'm going to do them going this way because I'll get myself in a pickle. And this really won't take me very long to do because I am just drawing against that line there. Now if I chose to add colour to these, then the alcohol marker will remain there as a shadow, and it will, as if I use a translucent colour, that will show through. So let's do it the same here with these. If I need a thinner shadow, I'm just trying to get my alcohol marker to its tip. I could have used a similar pen from the Ohuhus, but they have a brush tip and a chisel tip. And I like the brush tip, but I don't trust my heavy-handedness with this today. So these bullet points are perfect. And as long as I run this along the edge of that black line, then I keep it fairly consistent. So there's that. So that's already started adding some shadowing there. Now then, the next one is this here. And I'm going to use a technique called feathering, if I can get it. And it is of flicking. So I'm going to flick a shadow from the bottom here. I'm going to do the same from the top. So I'm going to just flick a little bit in there and flick a little bit from the top as well, like that. And then I am going to use my lighter green. I do apologise for reaching across the screen because I can add that to the end. And that will help this to not have such a harsh edge. It will help smooth the edge out. It acts like a solvent for the ink, but it's a coloured solvent. The blender in alcohol markers isn't actually for blending the colours. It's more of a bleacher than anything else, although I have been known to use it to wet the paper before I add the alcohol ink to help with blending of colours that are difficult to blend. The problem is then it can bleed those colours out or bleach them out a little bit. Do you see what I did there? I used the lighter colour to start to moisten this paper, and then the darker colour on top, and then I went back with the lighter colour to help it blend out. So that's another way of doing this. It's often my usual way. And these markers actually work really quite nicely for this. So I'm going to add some of that lighter grey. I'll do it on a couple of these shapes. And I'll come back and add the darker greeny grey. And, just add that there. And it really does just help that colour, as I said, just bleed out. Just a bit. There we go. And you can see as it dries, it does dry a little. It does dry lighter. If you compare the middle ones to the ones I've just done, you can see how much lighter they are. So there's that. Now then, I also want to put a shadow underneath this outer edge. So I am going to do a shadow underneath here, and I think I'll pop it underneath here. Now I'm using the darker grey for this one because it will dry back lighter, because I know that the lighter grey doesn't really stand out too much as a shadow. I may have made the wrong choice here, but we'll see. So if I do those, then what I want to do for the other sides is to put a finer shadow underneath there and there on the outside of the line. So this inner line to one side, and I'll keep it consistent all the way through. I'm putting a shadow underneath. If you've got the four sides of this inside shape, putting a shadow under the one at the top on the inside, and the inside of the one to the right, and then on the outside of the one to the left, and underneath to the outside of the one on the bottom. You see? Like that. It adds a strange kind of dimension to this. I've just realised that, but I'm fine with that. So I'm going to repeat this along all of these. So it's easy for me to draw this one this way. My hand likes to move in this direction, so I'll do all of these before I turn my paper. Saves on turning the paper around too much. So these are the ones that are on the inside of these lines. Like so. And then I'm going to turn this and do the others, so I can do this one. Actually, I'm going to turn this one twice by the looks on it. I've done that one already. That one. That one. I've done that one. So that one. That one. And I've done that one. So I just need to turn this and pop them underneath here, which I can do quite quickly. So I'm following those curves along. There. So we've got some shadowing going on there. I'm not entirely sure that actually works, because I've realised I haven't thought that one through properly. But these ones I'm just going to add some of the lighter grey just to help blend it out a little bit. So this will take me just moments to do. So bear with me. Like so. Like so. Under here. There. 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 And there. So that does the outside bit, and then I do want to add an extra layer of shadow here. Now with alcohol markers you can get a good, a nice blend of colour, but I'm working with them in terms of I'm actually going to let them look layered here. shadows. I'm going to leave them as they essentially are. Because from a distance, you won't notice so much. And if I add colour to this section, which who knows, I may do, I don't for the moment, then we'll have the shadows ready in. So there we go. So that's one done. Very bright shadows this side, not so much down here because the green colour, so it's sort of like we've got highlights and light ones, and I'm looking at the screen because I can see I've made some interesting choices in dimension here. So yeah, so there's that one done. Okay, what about this one? You noticed I didn't do anything with those middle lines there. I forgot to fill those in, so this will be my first job here. And what I'm going to do with these is I think I'm going to turn them into seed pods. So I am going to choose just one of these sections, the widest one I've ended up with, and I'm going to perk it. We're going to have a squish of perks in there as seeds. I'm using the 05 pen for this, and I will just thicken that line, and then that central line just disappears. It doesn't matter that we've got more sections on one side than the other, because everything will look just fine. So let me do another one. So this is going to be my central one. I'm sort of picking, I think that's the best way to go about it, is to decide where your central one's going to be. Pop your perks in, squish them perks in, and then add the other lines like so. And we're going to create some kind of seed pod all the way along. So I'm actually squishing circles in here rather than perks, because I've created a very narrow space here. That is the problem with this, is that if those central lines hadn't been there, we could have perhaps done a broader area for the seeds to live. But it is what it is, and we live and learn. If I'd done that in pencil, the grid in pencil, that would have disappeared completely into the background, but I didn't, I did it in pen. Or we could have erased it. So that's going to create an interesting kind of pattern, I think. If these slide outside that line, which those did, you just thicken the line, because these lines were thinner as I drew them in the centre. And you just carry on. So I'll finish doing these and I'll be back in a moment. Okie dokes, I'm back. There we are. So I've done all of those seed pods, and I've also coloured in the corners of these shapes in black. But what I'm going to do with these is I'm going to create sides to them by drawing from the points of these shapes to where the seed pods meet lines. And that means that I can add some shadow perhaps to two of the sides to give them the feeling of dimension yet again. I think this is what Zentangle ink call coffering, as in it resembles coffered ceilings and walls which are made of square panels that have got architrave or wooden beams around them, and you've got them in layers, as it were. So quite common in houses of a certain era, not as old as I like things to be. So my favourite architecture is nearly 1,000 years old in the UK. So certainly a good 900 in some cases. And Coffering is much more modern, relatively speaking, for Britain. Not exactly sure when it came into vogue, because my history isn't exactly brilliant. I know what I like and I know what I'm interested in, and I know what I'm going to get here. So I can see that, there we are. So we've got these big gaps in the middle. So what am I going to do with those? I'm so tempted to turn them into the blueberry kind of pattern that we did in the fragments of your imagination, with a little star that's aura'd, and I put lines out from it as well, so they look like sea urchins. I'm also tempted to turn them into seeds just by putting a spiral, sort of like an aura'd spiral, if you like, ish, in there. I really don't know what to do with them. Part of me just wants to colour the whole section black, which would be daft. So what I think I'm going to do is I'll use my finer pen, my 05, and I think I'm going to go with, oh, do you know how much I dislike deciding things? You're all going to be shouting things at me. Why don't you do this? I think I'm just going to go with a simple aura inside. Each of these shapes, tidying up lines as I go, as I see things that need a bit of tidying up, because don't always notice things when I'm looking at the bigger picture. It's when you're working on the smaller sections that you realise there's things going on. So that adds, if in doubt, they say, add an aura. Well, that one's just a line in that one, but we have to, even to these long skinny ones, or tall thin, short and wide, we have to add them. And actually that just finishes this off quite nicely in some ways. What I will do, I think, is I am going to pop in them a seed. But the seed can be anywhere I want it to be. It doesn't have to be in the middle, because I've done a lot of in the middling with these, but these are in all different directions, so we can make them different sizes, different shapes of seeds. But let's just go with whatever we feel like here, is it? And I think that'll work. This one's too small for a seed, unless I make the entirety of it a seed, which I'll do. This one is, well, there's no blank area there, so the whole thing is a long thin seed. This one can have a, that seed hasn't got space there for me to add a black bit, or white bit in the centre rather. That one's attached to the side, so that just makes it feel that little bit better. So I do want to add some shadow to these, so I'm going to go and get the pens I want to use for shadowing. Yeah, I'm going to use alcohol markers again, so I'll see you in a moment. Okay. I've got two Arteza pens. I managed to find my swatch sheet for them, and the two I've got, one is BR46, which is bisque, and the other one is Spicidal bisque. Spicidal BR43. So the 46 is the lighter colour, so I'm going to add some to the beginning and ends, to the tips. Oh gosh, I didn't want to put it in that section. This is where it gets fun, because don't forget we've got coffered sections here, but I want to focus on the seedy bit. So if I take this and just run it out a little bit, actually that would work, because as it dries that'll leave a nice highlight there. So again, it's thinking about where the outline of these is for that coffered section, and we're just going to case of using this. Oh, I've just had a deja vu moment. Isn't that strange? I thought I've done this before with you, but I don't think I have. Funny. So you can see I'm adding the dark colour at the points of the seed pod. I'm trying to avoid these coffered sections outside. I don't know what I'm going to do about those yet. And creating this kind of highlight in the middle, leaving that highlight there. And I'll do these again going the other way. Again, avoiding those coffered sections. So I'm not entirely sure what I'm going to do there yet. You can see as it dries, the colours dry back and they become less intense. So I've done that in the coffered bit. Yeah, I am scrubbing my pen back and forth at the end just to help to dissolve that. So I'm going to finish doing that and then I'll come back. Okay, see you in a mo. Okay, that's all the seed pods done. And there's a lot of dimension going on there, which makes it quite fun. Okay, I've decided what I'm going to do with the coffering that I put in there. I'm actually going to use a different colour. It's a BR12, it's a brick red, Alteza. And I'm going to, I'm so tempted just to colour this in, but we'll see now, because I'm going to pop this brick red underneath here. Now I'm going to have to colour it all in, which makes my job a lot easier actually here. There's a reason for this, is that it will separate these sections from seed pods, and I think seed pods make such a pretty pattern, and I think this darker red will just push things backwards quite simply, and then this will stand out. These will stand out more, and I then need to decide what I do about these seeds. But with this lovely red border around, I could use the colours I've already used before this to actually bring some dimension to these seedy things that are in the middle. Now that did bleed just a little into that section, but it's fine. So I'm going to go and finish this. This is going to be a long video. I've got so many bits to it. It's going to be fun putting it together, editing it in some ways, but we're getting there. So I will see you again in a little moment. There we are, back. What I'm doing here is I am adding some colour to the seeds, and I've chosen sort of olivey greens. One is, the darker one is YG34 green tea, and the lighter one is honeysuckle green, which is YG36. And those are Arteza colours, but you will find similar in many other alcohol markers or with anything else. What I'm doing with these, because they're such a small area, I'm filling them in with the lighter colour, And then I'm just putting shadow definitely at the bottom corners, trying to get a little bit underneath the sort of the edge of the covering of the seed pod, like that. And then that will give some feeling, or will add to that kind of dimension as well. I've now got a dilemma because I've got these seed pods here to do. Now I could do those with the orange, I could do them with the green, and I am tempted to do these with this green. So let me get the lighter green and start in the middle. Now I want to keep these more or less in the same same orientation. So I'm filling this in completely with the lighter colour. Then I'm putting a little bit of the darker colour in a sort of like crescent moon shape at the bottom. And then I'm coming back with the lighter colour just to blend that darker colour out a bit. It will bleach it black and it will blend it in if you work it enough. Saturating or getting this paper a little bit damp with the alcohol marker does help. And this is just 2 colour blending. I suppose if you were really cautious and careful, you could get 3 colours in these sections, but I'm not even going to try. It will give enough of an impression, and if I need it darker at the bottom, once it's dry, I'll go back over it with the darker colour. It's called glazing, and when you do that, you add another layer of that colour and it darkens it up. But you need to leave it until it's dry, really, otherwise it will just spread out into the other areas, really. I've coloured the white dot in there, but that's no problem. If I feel it's a problem, I've got white gel pens that I can go back with. Could use the blending pen, but then that would put a lot of alcohol out into the outer edge of the ink, and that's not what I want. So the magic of a souffle gel pen, I think, and I may use it with all of these. So this is almost done. I've kind of decided what I'm going to do with the outer edge, and you'll see that in a moment. And there's just something I want to do with the I am using little circular motions of my pens here to help to blend this. I don't know if it actually works, but it feels like it does. Nearly there, just 4 more to do and we'll be fine then. So pop that one in there, just a little bit of darkness there. If I really want to increase the highlight on this, then I can do things like use a gel pen, or even use coloured pencils, anything like that. You know, mixed media is fine. I say often, and I don't always take this to heart to myself, though I think I'm beginning to, given what I was mucking about with this morning, is if it works for you and it gives you the effect you want, then that's fine. That's how it works for you. Whether it's drawing, whether it's adding colour, creating anything. Well, more or less anything. I mean, when it comes to cooking, my experience is if you want to bake bread, you better follow a recipe mostly. So we've got that. What I'm going to do with these here, I will go back to the ones at the bottom, and I will just add a little hint of darker colour right at the base, just to darken that up that little bit and just increase that contrast there. These ones may be still a little damp, but I'm still going to do it because if I don't do them all together, I will forget which I did and which I didn't. And then around the outside, I am going to use these the pinky browny colours that I used for the seed pods, because I think that would look quite cool and interesting here. So I'm just very quickly, I'm putting all of this down, and I'm going to have the same kind of approach with a darker colour to the bottom and left, just around the outside edge. And then I'm going to go back and use the lighter colour just to blend the darker colour out a little bit, because it does need it. And again, if I feel I need some more contrast, there's a couple of things I can do. Oh, that's the darker colour, so I shall pop that there. And then I'll add the lighter colour, and that'll blend it out for me. I prefer to put the lighter colour down, then add the darker colour. Though sometimes I prefer to do it the other way around and add the darkest first. I actually did that with the seed pods because I wanted to make sure that I didn't overextend my dark colour, I suppose, or work out where I wanted to leave the highlights. The other thing you might notice about my seed pods is that the edge of the highlight in the middle is a bit raggedy, and that's deliberate. It's to give, oh gosh, I haven't blended that one. There you go, job done. And that is to give that feeling that it might be quite organic, and that texture in the seed pod itself. I'm not really following any light source here, other than in my mind I just want the darker bits at the bottom, really. Bottom and to the left a bit, because it makes sense in my little brain. So almost done. So all that would remain is for me to pop these onto a card blank, and of course naturally I haven't got any card blanks out, have I? But that's easy enough. I'm not going to do anything else to these. I don't think I'm going to add any metallics. The only thing I might do is add some souffle to add some highlights, or perhaps some interest in places. I don't know for sure, because I think I could be starting to get a little bit too fussy. Last 4 seeds to do, and then, oh no, 4. I've got some down here actually. Miss those ones out. They won't take much because I can go over them completely. There. Don't have to worry about the green bit in the middle with those. If I've coloured over that little white highlight in the centre of the seed, well, souffle pen, not a souffle to eat. On these larger ones, if I wanted to increase contrast, I could put a bit of shadow just above the green centre. I might try that in a moment, but we'll see. So I'm just adding some of the darker colour there to the bottom and left, and here again to the bottom and left. And then I am going to go back. I shall pop my lighter pen lid on, and then I shall go back to the darker one and just see if I can very lightly just add a little bit of shadow on the outside of this, but almost opposite to where I put the shadow at the bottom. I can't really fade the end of this out. I mean the line here. It's going to be what it is, but I can pick my lighter colour up and perhaps use that just to blend the tips of that line out and the edges a little bit, just to add that little bit more, a little bit of shadow there. It's subtle, I hope it will be. or add something to it. So there's that one. I bet you're wondering, Angela, why on earth did you do a distress coloured background? The answer is because I could. This one, there's just shading on it, no colour other than the background, and I chose grey-green markers to add the shadow. And there's a lot of line work in this, a lot of black. There is in the other one, but this one, the colours helped to give it that feeling of seeds and so on. They probably took about the same time to do in some ways. As the areas here for the alcohol ink were a bit bigger, and I was able to work a bit faster than here where I wanted the finer lines. But you have to let me know, which is your favourite? Brown, the brown seeds, or the greeny coloured bluey greeny one that's over here? Or can't you decide? I like them both. It's unusual for me to use so much colour on a tangle, but this one really did need it. This one didn't. It's got I think sometimes it's an elegance, but in both cases what I've tried to do, definitely have used sort of like almost a monochrome scheme here. The colours that are there are so close, they're near as down monochrome apart from the black and what white shines through from the paper. This one was starting as kind of monochrome until I added the green, and that green has really helped to bring different parts out and added some fun dimension to it. So I hope you've enjoyed this. I'll try to remember to pop these onto cards and take some pictures to pop on social media at some point of the finished cards. But until then, I hope you enjoyed. You have a go at drawing along and having a go at making things like this yourself, even if you haven't got distress inks. Remember, there are other ways to colour paper, or there's coloured paper you can buy to draw on as well. So whatever you have, make use of it. You don't have to go out and buy things. Art's my business, so I tend to have an interest in different media and still trying to work out how colour works for me. I keep saying I really ought to just stick to digital, but this has worked out really nicely for me. So who knows, perhaps alcohol markers mostly are the way for me to go, or digital, I don't know. That's what I've been doing this morning. That's worked out fine. And I'm wittering because I am. So I'm going to wish you all the best. I hope you have a lovely weekend. Whatever you're doing, I hope you have time for drawing, and I hope you give these a go. So until I see you again, take care, look after yourselves, and find time to be creative. Bye-bye. Bye for now.